Now we're going to begin with measuring for a glove or gauntlet. And I need to say it's really important that you always add a glove or gauntlet when you're incorporating a sleeve. Never have your patient go without because again it's like squeezing a water balloon. If you have something a sleeve on the arm and you have nothing on the hand, eventually you would see you're almost like playing with fire that the chances are at some point swelling will get into the hand. So always opt for a glove or gauntlet. A gauntlet is simply a glove without any of the fingers except for the thumb. So let's begin with the lengths that we want to measure for the glove. Now, first measurement is our A measurement. You might think that you'd go to the metacarpal head at the base of the third digit, but that's going to be too tight or too high. So instead, what you want to do is just take a business card and see the crease that you have at the base of the little finger and just bring that over to the middle of the third digit. And that number, that is where we want to have our A measurement. The B measurement, we're going to take it just down at the web space. We're not going to the base of the thumb, but just kind of where the skin comes into the hand there. We're going to take a measurement there. We're going to mark that. Our next measurement is the C. We're going to use the distal crease that we used when we measured for the arm sleeve. And then we can do one what we call the C1, which is going to be up a little ways. Now, when we're measuring for a glove, you can choose any option. You can go from the A to the B, C, C1. You could also then go all the way up to the elbow if you want. In some patients, that's all they need. They simply just need a glove to the elbow because they don't have extensive swelling around the elbow or the upper arm. And that seems to make patients quite happy if that's all they need. So let's take a look first at our lengths. Let's measure these lengths and then we'll get to measuring the circumference. So from the A to the B measurement, I get a number of 2.5. So I'll put that number in, 2.5. My next measurement, I'm going to go from my A all the way to the distal crease, and that number comes up at 9.7. So that's my A to C measurement, 9.7. My next measurement is to spot that I wrote up here. This is 18. This is my C1 measurement, and that is 18. If I were going to go on and continue on and make a custom glove that went up here or up here, you simply would just go up here. This number is 24. And this number I wouldn't choose going right into the cubital fossa, but just go a finger or two below that if you're making that glove, and that number then would be about 33. So that's how we're going to do our lengths. And now to do the circumference, we want to have the patient turn over because then they can press down almost as if they're weight bearing, and it'll spread things out and make the garment a little bit more comfortable. So let's first now take a look at what we can do for measuring the CA measurement. And this is the measurement right across the metacarpal heads. So let's go here and press down for me, if you will. And this measurement comes in at 18. So for the CA measurement here, it's 18. Then I'm just going to go into the web space a little bit and do the same thing, just going across the hand. And this will give us our CB measurement. And this number, doesn't need to be too tight, is 19. Do you see how that falls in at 19? And that's pretty typical. The B measurement might be a centimeter greater than your A measurement. However, if you had a patient who had rheumatoid arthritis or the knuckles, then you might see that this is going to be larger. But typically your A measurement, your B measurement will be about a centimeter larger. Now, at the measurement at the wrist, the C measurement. Remember when we did the measurement for the sleeve, we took the measurement at the widest part, which was over the styloid process. And we had the number of 15.3 and we added it to 16.3. To that number, I'm going to add half a centimeter, so I'm going to make it 16.8 or 1.5 greater than what the actual measurement is. It's just critical. If this measurement gets too tight, the back of the hand just blows up. So it's critical that we keep that one comfortable at 6, so it's 1.5 with a glove because you're going over the existing sleeve. So I'm making that 1.5 larger. My next, I'm going to go to my C1 measurement, and here I'm going to just take this measurement, that's true measurement, and that's going to be 17.4. And then if I were going on up to the D measurement, I'd also just take a true measurement there of 21.6. And if I were going up to an E, I'm going to just take that measurement at 24.6. Now we're going to move into measuring for the digits. Now when we want to get the X measurement or the base of the thumb measurement, it's critical that you measure as I'm showing you. You need to take this and almost wrap it around the base joint of the CMC of the thumb and do kind of like a crisscross as if you were, if you had a ribbon going on. So can you see here when I do that, my 0 matches up with my 9. And so therefore I would write that the base of her thumb is 9. As opposed to if I were to do it this way, look here, I would get almost into 6.8, and that would be far too tight for the thumb. So again, remember the tricky thing of all of the fingers is that you want to do this little crisscross, and you can see how the 9 and the 0 match up, and that's going to give you a better fit at the base of the thumb. Okay, so I just showed you how to measure for the base of the thumb, and the rest are pretty straightforward. Go to the base for the Z measurement, or the very end of the finger. You want to go to the base of the nail bed. So here I'm going to just come around the base of the nail bed, and my number here comes up to about 5.8. And to make it comfortable, I'm going to add 2 millimeters. So I'm going to make that a number of 6.0 for the base of the thumb at the Z measurement. Next, we're going to go to the second digit, and the same thing, just a true, comfortable, loose measurement, nothing tight. Especially with the Elverex Plus where there are no seams, it just can seem to get a little bit too tight. So make it a loose measurement around the base there, and I'll say that number is 6.5 at the X measurement for finger 2. And then when we go to the base by the nails, again, it's just take that like a looser measurement. You're certainly not pulling, just take a loose measurement. That number comes up to about 4.8, and I'm going to make that into 2 millimeters. I'll make that 5.0. Now for the third finger, we're going to slip around, go around just a loose measurement, and that number happens to be 5.6 at the X. And then at the base of the finger, we're going to take that, just a nice loose measurement, which happens to be 5.0, and I'm going to add 2 millimeters to make that number 5.2. Now we've got the last 2 fingers. I'm going to take on the fourth. I'm going to go around. Nice loose measurement at the base here. And that number is, I'm going to say 5.5. And at the end, I'm going to take this measurement. We're going to go, and that's that ends up being 4.4, but I want to add 2 millimeters to make that 4.6. And now on the fifth finger, I'm going to slide down here, come around, and this number happens to be 5.1 at the base. And the last one we're going to do is, this is 4.0, so I'll add 2 millimeters to make it 4.2. Now we just have to do the lengths. To do the lengths, you always want to choose the shorter side of the finger. So what's worked for me is to take, here I can use a business card and just take that measurement. I wonder if with the camera here, if you can see, if I take a measurement and, let's see here, business card here, I can take this, I don't want to dig it into the web space, but I want to just draw where the end of the nail bed would be. And then I can take that measurement from the end of the card to what I just drew there to give me my number, which would be 3.7 for the thumb. Next, I'm going to measure the length, and typically I can put one card in here and I can go here and measure. This will give me the measure of the length of the second digit, but then at the same spot I can take the measure here and then I can cover what those lengths are. So from the end of the card to that number, I'll get 6.2 for my 6.2 for the second finger, and then if I turn this over where I put the measurement, it's 7.0. So I'll put 7.0 for my middle finger, and if I were to just double check on the finger itself, that looks to be about right, how I would do 7.0. Sometimes you can just do it like this, but I think I like to do a double check with an actual card versus just eyeballing it and measuring. Okay, our next one, you can see between the fourth and fifth digit, this goes way down, that longer, so you want to measure on the shorter side here. So here, we're going to take a measure, let's see if you can see here. I'm going to come in here. I don't want to dig way into the web space, but just to the point where I get to the web space, and I'm going to take a number there. So I'm going to measure from the end of the card to there, and that number happens to be 5.8 for that length. And now for the little finger, we can do the same thing. We can go here to the end here. And that number is 4.5. Alternatively, you can use one of these flexi cards, and that will also help by, you can just take a measurement in and take a look at, double check your numbers here of what falls. Here I said 6.2, and it works well with this flexi card if you happen to have this flexi card as well. And this